Hello people, and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Goldman Sachs confirms holding 150 million in XRP. Okay guys, let's get into it. Okay, so follow the money guys, follow the money. Found this interesting because once again we're at that point where people are starting to go back on things that they say, and this is why I said this to you. I think this was like 2 years ago where I said, watch what they do, not what they say. Because a lot of these people and these companies, they're saying one thing and doing another. And if you follow them, you think because these are like big institutions and banks and whatnot that they're trustworthy. They're absolutely not. Not at all. Because there was a point where Goldman Sachs was very negative about crypto. But here we go, we've got them. $153 million in XRP. Now don't get me wrong, they have money in other cryptos as well, it's not just XRP, but the point being is, one, they've got a good chunk of money in XRP, so that shows that there's belief there with regards to XRP, and two, it shows you that they're going against what they originally said about Bitcoin and crypto in the first place. So let's get to the point of what I'm trying to show you here. So I've got an article here from the 30th of November 2017, and the title is Bitcoin is a vehicle for fraudsters, warns Goldman Sachs boss. The boss of Goldman Sachs became the latest high-profile critic of Bitcoin, claiming it was a vehicle to commit fraud as the value of the cryptocurrency ... Okay, I'm not going to bother going into the actual website to read that, but you get the gist. I always find it funny when people talk about, crypto being this vehicle for fraud and stuff like that, because while I do acknowledge that, do you know what's an even bigger vehicle for fraud? Cash. Fiat currency. If you've got cash, how do you trace that? At least on the blockchain, you can basically trace everything that's going on. You can see it all happening. So when people try and talk about Bitcoin being this vehicle for fraudsters, how about you start looking at the more traditional methods, because cash is the absolute biggest vehicle for fraud you can get. You can do all sorts with cash because nobody knows where it's come from. There's no way to trace where it's come from, the origins. So I just find it very hypocritical when people talk like this. And this is why I said to you from the get-go, watch what they do, not what they say. Because they're very hypocritical and you can see that. So the point that I just want to make here is for you guys out there in terms of just worrying about crypto as a whole. Like you can see here, you've got big institutions now getting involved and also putting these cryptos like XRP on their balance sheet. And what does that do? Well, it instills confidence, right? You should have confidence now, because if you're ever questioning your own decision, well, you've got huge banks here also betting on the fact that they believe that these cryptocurrencies like XRP are going to go up in value, which is why they're putting them on their balance sheet. Right? So this is why I say to you guys, like, I understand that you can be worried. I understand that you can see the price dips and you might not have the mental composure to be able to handle that. It might get to you too much. But when you see everything that's going on right now with crypto, especially XRP, so much is happening with XRP. It's like, I understand the worry. I understand the concern. But if you can kind of just get over that and just look at everything that's happening, you might have the confidence to stay around. And I'm not saying that you should or shouldn't. That's your choice. It's up to you what you want to do. Because look, I can't make no guarantees. At the end of the day, this crypto could all go to zero tomorrow. I can't say for sure. But if we look at everything that is happening, would you not say it's pointing in the direction of this is looking like it's going to be hugely adopted? Because we can see big banks getting involved now. Banks who were once saying that, Bitcoin and crypto is a scam, that kind of thing. They're now putting crypto on their balance sheet. You can see institutions actually using XRP and other cryptos for their actual use cases. So purposes, which is what they were intended for. Like, you can see that this is all happening. So when I see people talk about crypto in a certain way, I always have that side eye and I always think, is there an agenda at play here? Because if you can see everything that's going on, like, you can see that there are the right cryptos out there. If you are looking at the right ones, these cryptos will change the world, literally. So when you keep saying about, the vehicle for fraud and things like that, yes, okay, some people will use them for fraud. Some people will do that. But that's those people. Not everybody wants to use these cryptos for fraud. Some actually just want to use them for utility reasons. They want to use them because it's cheaper to do cross-border payments. It's great to be able to tokenize assets. They can go into DeFi rather than going into TradFi. Like, there's all these things, these avenues that people can have as reasons as to why they would rather use crypto or want to just use crypto in general. And so, with these banks, they're very out of touch and they're afraid as well. This is stuff that's going to impact their bottom line. Of course, it is going to affect them. So you can see why they say these things, because they hope that their word will have enough merit to scare people away, right? This is where it's like that divide and conquer. Like, they're hoping they can sow enough doubt that people will question if they are, making the right call being in crypto. And they are right. It's just, yes, there are going to be some that are going to be rug pulls and things like that. So you have got to be careful of that. But to me, this is no different than if you go to a casino and say, hey, you shouldn't gamble. You should still allow them to have that choice. It's up to them. It's their money, right? And don't get me wrong, I feel for people who make mistakes. But if people wanted that choice, they have the freedom to do that. You can't take that away from them. So for me personally, I just look at this and I say, hey, look, you've got a huge bank here talking about having XRP on their balance sheet. Goldman Sachs is one of the very big companies out there. Please understand that. I'm sure there's many other banks. Just because it hasn't been declared doesn't mean that there's not other banks as well who are holding XRP and other assets, other crypto assets. So this is where I look at this and I'm just like, everything that you want is here to have confidence about XRP's future. Now, as I said earlier, things could change. Something could, make me change my stance on that. But as it stands right now, there's nothing that really shakes my faith because we can see everything that's going on. And so, this indicator here that you've got to have a huge bank holding that much XRP. And don't get me wrong, to them, it's not a lot of money, but that can increase over time, right? They could be, for example, in their own way, like dollar cost averaging. So obviously it's not going to be dollar for them because they're a huge network and huge company, but like, for them, it might be like, yeah, we'll just keep drip feed buying. We're not just going to buy a huge chunk. We'd rather, do it over time so that we're getting an average price rather than getting one where the price could drop much lower or could go higher. It's like, let's just get it like bit by bit here, from here and just work our way through it. You know what I mean? Just build it up over time, accumulate. So yeah, to me, I just think this is very telling because, as I say, there's a lot of banks that at some point were saying don't get involved in crypto at all. Jamie Dimon, he's another one, and I think he's JP Morgan Chase. I believe he's with JP Morgan Chase, and he was saying again the same thing, like how Bitcoin and crypto, it's just being used for scammers and stuff like that. And it's like, yes, there are scammers out there, of course, but you could say there's, scammers in all different walks of life, right? There's people who can scam you out of, your insurance. There's people who can scam you into, giving up their crypto wallet or, money. They could fall victim to a romance scam. Like, there's people out here using all different methods to scam people. That's the people who are doing wrong. The cryptos that are here that have a purpose, they're here for a reason. And it's not to scam people. So when people say that, like, I do acknowledge that, yes, there is, scams going on within crypto. It is rife. But if you've got the right cryptos and you're handling this in the right way, you stand to benefit from this greatly. And that's why for me, it's like, yes, I don't like some of these things that happen within crypto, but I'm not going to say that's all just because of crypto. That's people with a greedy mind state, right? Who are willing to throw other people under the bus for their own, their own benefit. And so, yes, I agree that's wrong, but that's just the world we live in, right? Some people are capable of these things. But I look at this and I'm seeing everything that's happening and I'm just like, well, everything you'd want to have comfort is here in regards to, XRP's future. And this bank having, 153 million, like, that just tells you that they believe it's going to go up in value. That's why they're holding it. So, yeah, to me, this is just a big indicator. Obviously, you guys share what you think, but just follow the money, guys. Follow the money and watch what they do, not what they say, because they'll probably still be trying to make out, crypto's a scam even now, even though they're clearly invested, because that's what happened with Jamie Dimon of JP Chase. Like, he was saying certain things about crypto and Bitcoin, but like, we could see behind the scenes that the bank that he works for were invested in crypto. Do you know what I mean? So if it really was that bad, they wouldn't be investing in crypto. Of course not. Why would they take the risk if that was the thought process of the company as well? So yeah, I'll leave it there, guys. But as I say, the signals are there to tell you that, you know, the big money, that they're getting into XRP and others, you know, like, and it makes sense. It does make sense. So this should fill you with confidence to say, hey, like, there's huge institutions doing what I'm doing. They're also buying the crypto that I'm buying. Hey, maybe I am onto something. And as it stands right now, you are, because everything's going the way it should. So, you know, the future is very bright. So anyway, that's just my food for thought with this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching this. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And hit that bell. Take care.